The 572nd edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry with the Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Sign up today with promo code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. We're also brought to you by Mega Memorial Merch Sale. 15% off everything in the SGPN merch store. Just use promo code SGPNMay.
Heidi ho, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 572 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. This is going out to Lars Gunter, who is always bigging us up, if kids say that anymore, on the Twitter, on the X. He's always telling people how amazing we are. So obviously that's, as I said in the past, that's the easiest way to get yourself a dedication is to talk about how great we are. Whether we are or not, whether we deserve it or not, you go with that. So we're still living high off the hog, off of my co-host 20-2 weekend this past weekend. So people think we're amazing. I'm just rising tide lifts all boats and all that stuff. So people just group me in with the Gumby man. I would be Jeff Chalks Fox. I did not go 20-2. I went 0-0 because I didn't make the regional picks. I don't do as much research as Gumby does in the regional stuff, so I don't want to lead anyone astray with my picks. I'm a Tapology capper when it comes to regional stuff, but not my co-host. My co-host watches lots of film, and we're going to put that to the test with this episode here, because we have an 0-1 fighter up against a 1-0 fighter on our Cage Titans card that we're going to be covering today. And I got some real first world problems up here in the Canadian studios of the MMA Gambling Podcast. Air conditioning broken, 80 degrees in here. It's fun. It's fun. First world problems, but nonetheless. Let's bring in my co-host, who's always cool. It's Daniel Gumby Reeland. Hello.
Yeah, I was actually going to tell you, you mentioned you had to do, usually I do a bunch of video. Actually, for this episode we're about to talk about, I think I've seen all, I've seen all 10 of these fighters live at some point in time.
Wow.
Yeah, this is probably the first card ever where I could have not done any. I mean, I did do a little anyway, but yeah. I've seen all 10 of these guys or gals live at some point in time in their fights.
Yeah, because tell a little people about Cage Titans. We haven't covered it yet, but it is a promotion that runs in your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah, we've done some Cage Titans coverage before.
Okay, not a full episode though, I don't, right?
I actually think we did do a full episode
really?
in January when we were like real pressed and there were no UFC events for that long span. Yep. So yeah, we've covered Cage Titans before. And for anybody who doesn't know, it's a promotion out of Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is kind of a smaller town in Massachusetts. And they do really fun shows in the Plymouth Memorial Hall, which is like a very small town hall looking kind of joint. The fans are right on top of the fighters. They've had a lot of guys go pro out of Cage or to the UFC out of Cage Titans. Like this is where we got Jay Perrin. This is, Joe Giannetti is going to be on this card. He obviously went to the UFC following this. Mitch Raposo is a double champ of this promotion and just got signed to fight to the UFC next weekend as a fill-in for Najambral Tumendembro, which I got props for saying his name last time. So I got to
show
slip it in
off.
One more time.
Showing off again.
And so, Mitch Raposo came from there. There's lots of, Slippery Pete Barrett fights out of there. Like there's always been... There's been a lot of good guys out of Cage Titans. So it's a bit small promotion with a lot of big flavor to it.
Yeah. Well, that is what we're looking for with this week of no UFC. So it shall fit in perfectly into our schedule. Are you going to this event or no?
I was going to go to this event, but I had a couple of other things this weekend I couldn't get out of. So I will be watching it. You can watch it because I know this is a question you're going to ask.
Yep.
You can watch it on Spectation Sports, which is a website that does like pay-per-views for smaller promotions.
Okay. Do you know how much it costs?
I think it's usually $10.
That's worth it. We're good.
Yeah.
Gumby's going to win you your money back anyhow. So, right.
And it's usually like 150 fights. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're going to cover all 150 in Gumby insisted that we cover every fight. No, we'll cover the 5 that Gumby enjoys the most. And then do you have a lightning round set up for us?
Yeah, I got 2 picks for the lightning round today too. They're probably going to be a little bit of blowouts because that tends to be, the fights I picked for a reason. They're the 5 closest fights.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 hot prospects we're going to talk about that I couldn't squeeze in there because they'll probably be big favorites, but I did want to mention them anyway.
Fantastic. Speaking of hot, it's not just hot in this here podcast studios. There's also a hot week for racing. It's in fact the biggest week in racing, you could say. The Indy 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, and the Coke 600 all going down this week. Rod and Cody from the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and the F1 Gambling Podcast have you covered. Make sure to join their Kyle Larson diecast car giveaway. That's free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race to register, and make sure to subscribe to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and the F1 Gambling Podcast. Everyone has 2 podcasts, Gumby. Time for us to get a second podcast.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, we do the UFC and the regional, but that's basically 2.
It's true. 5 days a week, not enough, Gumby. They need more of us. Our WEC where we watch every episode, but we got to do that podcast soon. You can't really bet on those though.
Like a watch back? I mean, we could, but it would probably be fairly easy.
Probably. Also, as Gumby told you off the top, we are running a Mega Memorial Day merch sale. It should be Mega Memorial Day merch sale. That would be even better. 15% off everything in the merch store. Promo code SGPN May. So get all the cool gear we have in there, especially the MMA Gambling Podcast gear. We got your mugs, we got your hats, we got your shirts, we got all that good stuff. So get in the store, check it out. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store would be the spot to go. Maybe I'll say that coming up in this show. Do we have any multiple regional champions? Probably. We have a few here. All right. So as we mentioned, we're doing Cage Titans. It would be Cage Titans 65 going down in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Isn't that where your country began, Gumby?
That's the rumor. Yeah. That's the, I mean, there's a rock out there. It's actually not even all that impressive of a rock. Anybody who's like, oh, I got to go see Plymouth Rock. I'm telling you, it's like, the size of 2 watermelons. It's not really all that impressive.
Yeah, that's good because we never went to Plymouth Rock when we were in that area. So good.
Yeah, skip that.
Good. I will skip that. Yeah, because no one was here in America until Columbus or whoever went to Plymouth Rock, right?
Nope. That's the story.
That's what we're taught in school, right? All right. So Plymouth Memorial Hall definitely was not there. And that's where this is happening. It's Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So we've done a 8 a.m., noon, and now 7 event for Saturday.
We got MMA all day, baby.
We got it covered for you for sure. Okay, 13 fights in a cage and 1 Muay Thai bout. As I said, we're gonna hit you off with 5 fights, and then Gummy's got some bonus lightning round plays for the last for a couple of more fights for you. No odds on this have dropped yet. Bet online. Anywhere else that we can
bet online is actually usually pretty slow with Cage Titans and sometimes leaves them out altogether, but BetMGM, which is legal in a lot of different states, including in Massachusetts, usually picks them up. Cool. I think due to a partnership that BetMGM has with like some Boston area stuff.
Okay, cool. Very, very good. Gumby has the goods for us, of course. All right, we're going to start off with a champion fight. Now, his name's Champion. He's not a champion, though. It's Kenny Champion. He's going up against Aaron Hughes. This is a 3 5-minute round fight at 150 pounds, so a catch weight fight. And we'll tell you about Hughes first. Short Fuse, Aaron Hughes. Good nickname. 4-5, 1 knockout, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted 3 times, 2-2 with 1 no contest in Cage Titans, 0-2 over his last 2. Both of them have come via submission. Both those losses. 1-0-1 as a pro grappler, 0-1 in pro Muay Thai, an inch taller than Champion. Champion, Rise of the Phoenix is the nickname, all one word. Thoughts on that?
Love it. I love it.
You like the all one word nicknames? Okay, cool. Rise of the Phoenix. He's 2-3 with 2 knockouts. So I think the Phoenix may have rose a little bit and then crashed to the ground, like my Phoenix Suns. He's been knocked out once, submitted twice. So he owes his rounds. This man really owes his rounds. This is his Cage Titans debut. He's lost 3 straight fights. Ouch. He's not fought since September of 2022. He's not won since February of 2020. He went 0-1 in Bellator, 0-1 as a pro grappler. So not quite a champion yet for Kenny Champion. All right, Gumby. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to say Hughes comes in here as a favorite because, as you mentioned, the recent results for champion have not been good. And not that Hughes' record like blows anybody out of the water either, but that'll
4 and
probably
5.
yeah, that'll probably keep the numbers a little bit closer, right? Like we'll probably get like
Mhm.
negative 170, negative 175 on Aaron Hughes. And I think Aaron Hughes is the right play here. If you've watched Kenny Champion fight in any of his past fights, he's low-key kind of a good wrestler. He does a really good job of getting to the legs. He does a really good job of getting your hips off the cage. When he's shooting a takedown to try to control you. The big problem with Kenny Champion for me is it's actually twofold. The first one is that he sticks his neck in a lot of places where it doesn't belong. So like
that's a common thing that we're running into a lot, right? People are always sticking their necks in places.
Yeah, well, and like it's a problem when your best trade is wrestling, and
Yeah.
then like sometimes you forget to put your head on the right side wrestling, right? Like I just said, technically, as far as getting the legs and getting the hips, he does very good, but like following the rest of it and being defensive while he's doing it, kind of one of his issues. If you look at his record, if I'm not mistaken, especially if you count the regional scene or the amateur scene rather, he's lost a bunch by submission. And it's because of just like kind of putting himself in bad positions following takedowns. And then the other thing I don't like about Kenny Champion in this one is just that his cardio hasn't seemed to hold up. He spends so much time wrestling. And again, like I said, he's a good wrestler. So I'm not going to sit here and knock him at 2 and 3. But the problem with him in terms of just like being able to do that for 15 minutes, that's too much for me. And especially fighting a guy like Aaron Hughes, because I will say 2 things about Aaron Hughes. Despite his bad record, he does 2 things exceptionally well. Number one is he's got cardio for days. This is a guy who looks just as fresh at the end of fights as he does in the beginning of fights. And I think that's going to play up against Champion. And then the other thing is this dude jumps Gilly like you would not believe.
Oh, we like that. We love that in the Discord.
And usually that's a check in the wrong box, right? That's me.
Yes.
I would sit here and say, don't pick the guy on the regional scene with a 4 and 5 record who jumps Gilly. But here I am telling you that he's going to get one of those Gillies. We've got a 4 and 5 regional scene guy who's going to jump Gilly and get one of them. Because Kenny Champion, like I said, he kind of puts himself in a bad position. And even if he doesn't get the first one or if he doesn't get the second one, Kenny Champion's going to be too tired in the second and third round that I think Hughes just goes back to that and gets it finally. So, yeah, give me Aaron Hughes here. I think he's going to be, like I said, we'll say negative 170 favorite.
All right. Don't stick your head in places that it shouldn't be. That's one of Gumby's tips for fighting. The other is don't lean back if you're a tall guy, right?
Yeah, no tall guy defense.
That's it. That's all you need to know defense-wise, and you're all set. Okay, let's move up. Name you may, some of you hardcores may know. That would be Hilarie Rose. She's in a women's strawweight bout against Katie Perez, 3 5-minute rounds. Perez, Makina Asinsa. Makina Asinsa may be the better pronunciation. Gumby, go ahead. Tell us what it means.
Rising something?
Killer machine.
Nope,
not even close. This killer machine is 4 and 7. Interesting. 1 knockout, 3 submissions. At least she's finished all her wins. She's been knocked out once. This is her Cage Titans debut. She has lost 3 straight fights. We're on a pattern here. We're gonna have 3 straight fighters who have lost 3 straight fights here. She's lost 3 straight fights and won 1 of her last 5. Used to fight at atomweight, 2 inches reach over Rose. So you're thinking, oh, Rose must be the big favorite here. Rose is 6 and 7, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions, knocked out twice, submitted 3 times, 0-1 in Cage Warriors. She has lost 3 straight fights, and she's won 1 of her past 6. So exact same as Perez. 3 straight losses have come via submission. She has not won since April 2022. She went 1-1 in LFA, 0-1 in Victa, 0-1 in Contender Series. Who did she lose to, Gumby? Do you remember?
Cheyenne Vlismas.
Correct. 1-0 as a pro kickboxer. Okay, go ahead. A lot of these fighters are having issues with wins. The top 4 people we're talking about here.
Yeah, I'm also going to mention that when Hilarie Rose was in that fight, I took Vlismas. Actually, she was Cheyenne Bays at the time, but I took Cheyenne Vlismas in that fight, and I basically said Hilarie Rose is not a good 4 and 1 regional level fighter, and now she is a 6 and 7.
There you go.
And I think she's going to be a favorite here. She's got the LFA background, she's got the Contender Series background. She's always kind of been a highly touted prospect in the Northeast, despite the fact that she seems to keep dropping fights like this. So I think she's going to be a favorite. We'll say right around the same size favorite as Hughes was, like negative 170 plus 150 on the return for Katie Perez. And I'm actually going to say, I'm going to take a stab on Katie Perez here.
Killer machine. Let's go.
Yeah, like I know she's 4 and 7 and the results haven't stuck out particularly well. But the thing I will say about her is her jiu-jitsu skills are really good. She's lost a few fights that I watched, having a little bit of trouble being on the bottom and just like looking for subs all the time there. I think the bonus she's got here is that Hilarie Rose herself is not all that good of a wrestler. Like if you watch a lot of Hilarie Rose's losses, and granted they are to some pretty good competition, like I do have to give her that. I don't think her wrestling, or actually I do think her wrestling has been the biggest issue, is that like it seems like that seems to be the fatal flaw in a lot of these fights. And so I don't know if Katie Perez necessarily will be able to get a takedown herself so that this jiu-jitsu can come from the top instead of the bottom. But I do think at the very least it stalls out and she winds up on the feet here and she's a little longer. I think she's going to have a little bit better pressure. Maybe she holds her up against the cage. But if you can get dog money on Katie Perez here, I think it's worth a stab, because Hilarie Rose, that grappling deficiency worries me against somebody who can sub you.
So what do you think we're going to get her at?
I said like plus 150. Yeah, plus 150. Yeah.
The other flip side of minus 170. Okay, cool. Let's tell you about another cool underdog thing. Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing the pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun, especially if you win 100 times your money. You're going to want to pull up the underdogfantasy.com main screen, because they have daily specials on there every day. Daily specials daily. And they have also new customers get a pick'em special in the lobby when they sign up. And on top of all of this, Underdog will also be running a ton of different promos, bonus cash airdrop specials, giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow at Underdog Picks on Twitter to keep an eye out. Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada. They also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. Sign up with MMA SGPN, that's the code, to claim your special pick and first-time deposit. Offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. It's a win-win for all of us. All right, Gumby's got you, hopefully a dog. So far, we're going to move on to a men's fight. This is the one where these fighters have fought once. Yet Gumby has seen them, of course.
I've seen one of them fight no less than 5 times personally.
Gumby is an AMI. Gumby is an AMI amateur fighter. So Daniel Keepers 0-1 versus Miguel Sevasin. Sure. 0-1. 1-0, excuse me. 155 pounds, 3 5-minute rounds. Sevasin 1-0, as I said, with one knockout. That fight was in Cage Titans. He's a year younger than Keepers. Keepers, the Ramblin' Man. So at least he has a good nickname.
He better have that walkout song.
Yeah, he should, for sure. Allman Brothers. Not a big fan, but I'll accept that as a walkout song for him, sure. 0-1 for Keepers. He's got submitted in that fight. This is his Cage Titans debut. Used to fight at welterweight, 2 inches of height over Sevasin. Hopefully, Allman Brother fans are going to come at me like the Dragon Ball Z fans did. All right, go ahead.
I think there are less Allman Brother fans
probably
that are MMA fans than there are Dragon Ball Z fans. That's what I'm going to say.
If you're an Allman Brother fan and a Dragon Ball Z fan, reach out and let us know.
Yeah,
that's
say Gumby.
The Venn diagram for that has got to be.
Put Gumby rules in the comments again, or no, this time we already did Gumby rules. This one should say like Jeff sucks or something.
Jeff rules.
Like
Jeff rules. Gumby rules.
Yeah, so if you're in the Venn diagram center, let us know.
Exactly.
Miguel Sevasin, massive favorite here.
Okay.
Anything less than negative 550, negative 600, I'd be shocked. And not just because he's 1-0 and Keepers is 0-1. Like if we look at this fight stylistically, Sevasin does a really good job of keeping range. Keepers clearly would rather strike in this fight than anything else. He seems to have an issue wrestling, an issue with people getting inside. He would rather be like a long distance karate type fighter. And Sevasin like knows his range, just gets right in your face, and he is a really good grappler. Like, I really like this kid's top control. He's this is one of those ones where I think Cage Titans knows what they have on their hands with Miguel Sevasin, because he's fought Amy from a bunch of times. Like I said, I've seen this guy fight like 5 times myself. And like sometimes he looks good and sometimes he doesn't, but like the times he doesn't is just when he fights somebody who can wrestle as good as him, and Keepers isn't that. So I think they're trying to build him up as a pro. His teammate is fighting in the fight we're about to talk about next, Jack Congdon. They're like best buds, they're training partners, all that kind of good stuff. And he's sort of the wrestling side to what we see with Congdon too. Both of them have sick jiu-jitsu, both of them very sharp. I think Sevasin's just going to get keepers down and roll over the top of them. So yeah, Sevasin, I will say if this number comes in anything south of -500, throw it in all your parlays, give yourself a little boost.
All right. And you threw in your Boston area kid in there. You said kid, just like Dana White style.
I didn't even catch it.
I don't want to make you self-conscious about it, but yes. I'm like, hey, it's Dana White again. He's this kid, except you said something positive. Instead of this kid doesn't want to fight.
Yeah.
You said something positive.
This kid wants to fight.
This kid wants to fight. This kid's going to win, apparently, as well. All right, nothing but title fights the rest of the way through. So, Cage Titans FC Welterweight Championship is up for grabs in our next fight. Jonathan Piersma, the current champion, at 170 pounds as well, not just pounds, against Jack Congdon. 5-minute rounds. Congdon, 4-0, 3 knockouts, 1 submission. He's finished everyone. He owes us some rounds here, perhaps all 5 rounds. All his fights have been in Cage Titans. He's a year younger than Piersma, 3 inches taller. Piersma Warhawk is the nickname. 8-2 with 1 no contest, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out once, so he owes us rounds too. This is going to go all 25 minutes. 2-0 in Cage Titans and the current champion. He's won 2 straight and 5 of 6. His last 3 wins have come via finish. Was regional champion before this, 0-1 in LFA, and 2-1-1 as a pro grappler.
0-1 in LFA. He was the main event of that too. He lost to Devin Smythe by knockout in like 33 seconds in Niagara Falls. I was at that fight.
Gumby has seen all these people.
Yeah, and I can give you one better because I've not just seen Jack Congdon fight a bunch of times. And this is where I'm going to quickly warn the viewing public of my own personal bias. Jack Congdon is a former training partner of mine. Me and Jack trained together for like 2 or 3 years. When he went to college, his college town was in the same town that I train in. He walked in, and I'll just be honest, like a lot of times when you get a guy who walks in and they tell you, you ask him, how much jiu-jitsu have you done before? And he was like, I did some kids classes before I got to high school and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, so this guy doesn't know any jiu-jitsu. And he came in and immediately was like competitive with like high level blue belts and low level purple belts, having nothing more than kids training and some of the best physicality I've ever seen naturally in a guy. Right? Like this guy this is a massive welterweight. I don't know how this dude makes this weight class because he's as big as I am and I weigh 215. And he's down here making 170 and seemingly making it easy. He hasn't even seemed like he has any hard cuts. This is a big dude and he's trouble. Now, I do think he's going to come in here as the dog. Piersma, as you mentioned, much longer record. He's main evented LFAs before. He is the current champion. He's a name people recognize. I'm going to guess that Piersma comes in here like -200, -220. You're going to get Congdon at like +180. I'm not just taking Jack Congdon because he is a former training partner of mine and I love the guy, but I will say this. I think he has got some real key attributes that are going to be tough for Piersma here. First of all, Piersma, if he can't get his wrestling going, in a lot of trouble. And while Jack Congdon has shown mostly striking in his fights so far, right? Like all of his AMI fights and all of his pro fights so far, he's largely rested on his striking, with the exception of like one triangle choke he got in his like first or second AMI fight. But like he's largely rested on his striking. His wrestling and his defensive wrestling is very solid. And his jiu-jitsu off of his back is really good as well. And I think he knows what Piersma is coming to do, right? Piersma is coming to take him down. So first of all, I think he has the counters to what Piersma does good. The other thing is that if you watch any of Jack Congdon's fights, one that sticks out to me is the Trevor Good fight. Trevor Good, former Bellator vet, he trains with Billy Goff. He was actually who Billy Goff was using as his tall guy to prepare for Trey Waters. Congdon knocked him out by just backing that dude up against the cage and letting go because he doesn't take a step back. He's a guy who moves forward a lot. And if you watch Piersma in the title fight he won in Cage Titans, early in that fight, another young, like 3-0 pro just kept moving forward and it gave him fits. Like he looked worried about it. At one time, I'm not even sure if he got tagged, but because he was moving backwards and like seemed to like stumble, it looked like he got tagged and he wound up in on a bad shot and in a bottom position. I think if he backpedals against Congdon is going to get him up against the cage. He's going to open up. He's going to piece him up. I wouldn't be surprised for him to get a striking finish. I also have questions of Piersma's chin following that Devin Smythe knockout because it was 30 seconds into the fight and didn't look like it landed 100% flush, and he went out hard. So I like Congdon's chances to knock him out. I think that pressure is going to be too much for Piersma. And I think this is going to be a big win here for Congdon. So give me Jack Congdon, probably dog money here too.
All right. Tapology, you gotta do something with those pop-up video ads. Gumby is driving me nuts.
They're brutal, man.
I
mean, websites got to make money, right? But like,
exactly,
it's not fun.
It's not fun having to exit out every 5 seconds. All right, I'm a Tapology capper. No, I'm reading you the event off Tapology. Let's tell you about something that's not annoying. That would be Rhythm. That's RITHMM. There it is. If you're watching us on YouTube, there it is right in front of you there. If you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning our algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data, without you needing to endlessly scroll a sportsbook. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models, so you can get AI-backed money line, spread, and total picks for every playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. Main event time. And it is for the Cage Titans vacant lightweight championship. Gumby, you know what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah. Joe Giannetti. Joe Giannetti got beat by Michael Dufort, who then moved on to PFL. Right. And is now 1-0 in PFL with a damn impressive finish of Mads Burnell. And now Joe Giannetti gets to fight for it again.
There you go. Looking to reclaim his belt that he didn't lose. Joe Giannetti up against Jacob Bohn.
He did lose. He lost it to Michael Dufort.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. He had I know what I'm thinking. He was welterweight champ, and he didn't lose that.
He did. He rescinded that so Congdon could fight so Piersma could fight Desilets first.
Yeah,
but then
that's right.
This one.
He didn't lose that, but he lost lightweight. All right, fine. Let's break her down. We're going to talk about the challenger first. I guess they're both technically challengers. Bohn is Jaguar is his nickname. He's 14-11, 2 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been knocked out 6 times, submitted once. 2-2 in Cage Titans, 4-1 over his last 5, including winning his last fight via submission. Was regional champion, used to fight at bantamweight and featherweight, and he went 0-1 in Bellator. Giannetti Skeletor. This would be the American Skeletor, not the British Skeletor, who is... Do you remember?
Reese McKee?
Yeah, there you go. Reese McKee. This Skeletor is 15-5-1, 6 knockouts, 7 submissions. He's been submitted 1 time. 15-2-1 in Cage Titans. He probably has. Does he have the most fights ever in Cage Titans? You probably would think so, wouldn't you?
I mean, he's got to be up there.
Yeah. He used to be, as I said, as we said off top, used to be the lightweight and welterweight champion at one point in this promotion. He's won 6 of his last 7, won his last fight via knockout. He TKO'd Bohn back in 2022. So this is a rematch. Gumby, you're not gonna trick me on this one. Trip me up. He went 0-1 in UFC, 2-0 in the Ultimate Fighter. He lost in the finals of the Ultimate Fighter season. 6 years younger than Bohn, 2 inches of reach on him. Is this a gimme fight? Is this an easy fight? I mean, for Giannetti?
I don't think so. Bohn is really starting to put together a decent resume. And if you look at his resume, I don't know if you have it in front of you. Dude, it's nuts. Like Jacob Bohn has fought one of the most insane resumes for a guy who's 14-11. Like Joe Selecki, Pat Sabatini, the aforementioned previous fight with Joe Giannetti. Like he's gone out there with some guys. I will guess that Joe Giannetti's going to come in here as a big favorite, just because of the name value, and Cage Titans seems to love him, and I imagine they're hyping him up pretty good. We'll say like -300 for Giannetti, plus 240 on the return, 250 on the return for Bohn. I'm going to pick Giannetti, but I'm going to say if it's at -300, I don't have the same faith as I was telling you about Sevasin or the 2 people I'm going to tell you about my lightning rounds as I do Giannetti, because the thing is Bohn comes out really fast, and his striking looks exceptional early on in the fight. The biggest issue with his striking is that he doesn't appear to be able to keep that pace, particularly for 5 rounds. Like he started wilting late in the second, early in the third, the first time he fought Giannetti. So when they got to the 4th round, Giannetti just took over and TKO'd him. And I think that more of the same could happen here, especially because Giannetti's striking has gotten a touch better. So like Bohn might look good early, but ultimately, I think the cardio and the ability to keep that pace is a big deterrent. And I will also say this, despite his striking look good, it doesn't seem like he's got a lot of put away power with his hands. Like most of his finishes have come by submission. And when he fights a guy who he can't submit, which I kind of think is Joe Giannetti, it just kind of becomes a war of attrition for him. Like, I don't know if there's a way for him to win otherwise. And so, like, you still have the submissions there for Giannetti if Bohn does get tired or if he shoots stupidly. And then on top of that, I think Giannetti's striking getting better, especially, we just watched him flying knee knock out Pat Casey and stuff like that. Like, I think he has the ability to knock out Bohn more than Bohn has with him, which is a rare statement for Joe Giannetti, if I'm being honest. But the fact that Bohn comes out so sharp early on and could probably steal the first couple of rounds, it's enough to make me say at like negative 300 if that is where Joe Giannetti is at. Like, I'm not really interested in that because I don't really want to see him accidentally fall down 2 rounds and then like give up a takedown in the 5th to lose it.
All right. So where are you playing him at if the line is not there?
If I could get him down right around negative 200, I'd probably be interested. If I could get him under 200, I'd definitely be interested.
Okay.
But if he's up, mid to high 2s, if he does hit 3, if God forbid it goes any higher than that, it's just kind of a pass spot for me. And then I think, as you start to get close for Bohn being like, if he does get starting right around plus 300, maybe he's worth a sprinkle too. Like, I'm not picking him to win here, but like he's got paths to victory if you find him at plus 300.
All right, let's recap and then we'll give you some bonus picks. He's got Giannetti, he's got Congdon, he has got Sevasin, he's got Perez, and he has Hughes. Okay, lightning round, crash, bang, boom, thunder, lightning. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the first name I'm going to mention should be a negative 2,000 favorite, if I'm being completely honest.
Nice.
This is Andrew Valdina. This guy is incredible. I watched him one time in his pro debut, and I'm pretty sure the tweet's still up. You can go scroll back to my Twitter. I'm pretty sure I said that guy's going to be on Contender Series one day. Like, I'm positive Andrew Valdina will be a Contender Series guy. He's the entire package. Like, the way he strikes from range, his submission game, like, is the power that he holds in his weight class. Like, Andrew Valdina is the real deal. They seem to be giving him another layup to boost his record before they give him like a real deal opponent. So if he's going to be negative 2,000, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. The other one is a fighter making her pro mid debut, and that's Alyssa Tortora. I hope I'm saying that right. Tortora. She comes to us from a wrestling background, which you don't see a ton of with women's fighters. And then on top of that, she's been training at Lausanne MMA. Which means she is taking a very high-level ground game to begin with, or something that has a very solid base, and she's adding some really good jiu-jitsu. And I've heard from all of the training partners out at Lausanne MMA that she is absolutely somebody to keep an eye on. I've seen some clips of her wrestling. I actually haven't seen any of her in MMA, but like, she's going to be making her pro debut here. Maybe the unknown factor keeps her line playable, but if you see it at a playable number, yeah, I'd definitely get in on Alyssa Tortora.
All right, there you go. The storm has passed over. Lightning is gone. Maybe before we head out here, lines have dropped for the regional events we've already covered earlier on in the week. Anything people should look out for or should get in on while they can?
I've seen wild fluctuation out of Orlando Prince. So we talked about Orlando Prince being a big dog probably against Harry Hardwick, and I still do like Orlando Prince in that fight. He posted plus 300. I was like, ooh, that's interesting. I'd love for it to get a little bit higher. Within 20 to 30 minutes, he was down to plus 185. So clearly some big money came in on Prince. He was back up to negative or plus 375 last I checked. So that line course corrected. I think maybe the all chalk parlay guys have probably dumped in on Harry Hardwick and got that number back up for Prince. But, I think I said I'd like Prince even at, plus 200 or something like that on, what's that, yesterday's show, 2 days ago show. And I mean, at almost 4-1, it's very, very tempting. So that's one that sticks out for me. couple of the favorites were as big as I thought they would be. Did you see lines for Brave? I only saw mine.
No.
Okay,
Maybe I shouldn't have pluralized it. Yes.
Yeah. Just lines for Cage.
Yeah.
The rest of the lines were right about what I wanted. Aiden Lee is unplayable at the line he came in at. I thought that fight would be, I think I said originally it would be a pick 'em, and Aiden Lee's like negative 350. So I'm still picking him to win, but just pass on that. Don't get in on that line at all. And then the rest of the lines look kind of normal.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Prince obviously was one of our people who gassed that line into a unplayable territory, and then all the commoners started playing their parlays and got it back up into a good. Yeah, I saw it minus a plus 375 after you were complaining, and I'm like, oh, I hope Gumby knows that, and you did.
I did.
You found it on your own. I didn't have to tell you. So. Fantastic. All right, that is it for this here episode. We'll be back tomorrow with Uriah Faber's A1 Combat. In the meantime, we shall be in the Discord where we always are. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Twitter, Gumby runs our Twitter account at SGPN MMA. He's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer on there and on Instagram. Check out my Substack. I run a weekly UFC pick'em contest and do all my MMA writing and whatnot on there. So check that out. moneymma.substack.com. Gumby's got Turtle MMA podcast. Who is on it this week? Have we firmed up who's on it?
Yeah, we're going to be talking with Orlando Prince, the aforementioned Orlando Prince, and I'm going to be talking to Torres Finney about getting his second shot on Contender Series.
Scary man in the cage. I don't know if he's scary outside of the cage.
No, he's like a big giant softie.
Yeah,
he's a sweet dude.
Yeah. All right, so check that out. And what else should you check out? Obviously, YouTube. We're 450 subscribers away from making some money. So subscribe if you haven't already. That would help us out greatly. MMA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. And of course, we're at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. So you can get cool gear and look cool like us. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We shall be back tomorrow. It'll be the Rambling Man, Jeff Fox, Short Fuse, Gumby Vreeland, Uriah Favers, A1. Bye-bye.